Okay, so here we are, all three of us back again for Fourth and Gold podcast. Gonna chat through week 17 games right now. We've got to start off with the New York Jets at the Cleveland Browns. Jay, who you got for this game tonight?
So before we start, Rob, I'm just gonna call out where we are.
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So we got Paul, who had our strongest week this week. He's at 150 to 90. Rob, you're at 153 to 87, and I'm at 157 to 83. I was having a quick scan across the internet this afternoon, and we're clear of ESPN, we're clear of NBC, and we're somewhat ahead of NFL Network as well. So stick with us if you want winning picks, I say.
Well, Jay, aren't you ahead of? I can't find the tips. I can't find a person that exists on the internet, talking head, who is beating yourself. Like your
How's Michael Irvin doing? He was the best one that I'd seen
was the
about
one
5 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the one I'm not sure on. I couldn't find his record. But other than Michael Irvin, I'm pretty clear of a lot of these.
I haven't seen anyone with a better record than you outside of Michael Irvin. But again, that was 4 weeks ago. So maybe you've caught up and overtaken. Who knows?
Who knows? But I mean, we're all
Sunday.
clear of like 90% of people, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, as I said, stick with us if you want winning picks.
Oh, yes. Good stuff. Let's
okay.
improve on that this week.
Yeah. 2 weeks to go. So, yeah, Jets at Browns. Spread is, I think, 7.5 in favor of the Browns, and it's in Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely rolling with Cleveland. This Joe Flacco era is quite amazing, really, isn't it? Like, I don't want to say it, Paul, but I think they keep banging on the stat that Joe Flacco has more multiple touchdown games than Kenny Pickett has and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, man.
He has more touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett this season in 3 starts or
3 starts. Yeah. I don't think it'll be that easy though tonight. Like Amari Cooper went crazy, didn't he? Like he's had his 4th 200+ yard game. He's only the 6th NFL player to do that in history. I actually saw one of those games live in Oakland. Like, would you believe? But I think the Jets defense is still pretty good. But the Jets offense, I don't see them having much success today. I think Flacco gives them the experience and know-how they need to keep this offense balanced. Low-scoring game, Cleveland win. Yeah, Cleveland cover 7.5.
Yeah, well, I pretty much echo in everything you just said, Jay. I see the Cleveland defense at home absolutely eating this New York Jets offense up. It's going to be potentially a painful night from both sides on the offense. Flacco's done incredibly well. I think he's thrown for over 300 yards in all 3 games, or thereabouts, anyway. But he has had some mistakes in there. It's not like it's been error-free football. This is the best defense that he's come up against since he's come back. You can be certain that Cooper won't be going anywhere near 200 yards with Sauce on him tonight. So it's going to be a much closer game. They're going to have to rely on the run a bit more, which I can't see being too successful. They're struggling on the O-line front. They've got a couple of people out on the O-line, so that is a challenge. You look at the running game from the Browns, I think if you go back most of this year, most of the last 5 years, the running game has been their bread and butter. That's what they've been, ground and pound. Now, if you look at last week, I think Ford had maybe 20 yards rushing, something along that lines, and he's their number 1 back, and Kareem Hunt wouldn't have had much more. So it's going to be a really difficult game. I think the over-under was maybe 34 points is the over-under. I think this is coming in under. I really am struggling to see how either team gets to 17. The only way is if the defense puts up points. I don't see either offense getting to that. So I'm going with a Cleveland win just because I think their defense will be a little bit more opportunistic and the offense is better than the Jets offense when you put the two together. But it's going to be a messy game. It's going to be a game for the defense from both sides. I'm going with under 34 points. The spread is a horrible number. 7.5 is too bad. Two not very good teams, and you're asking for more than a touchdown. I wouldn't touch this game with a bet. But if I had to, I would say the Browns are going to cover just from the defensive side. Garrett will get his, and I think followed by a drug test again. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm going with Browns. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'd want no part of this game whatsoever in terms of gambling, in terms of laying down money on this game. If I have to pick, which I do, then I would pick the Browns. The Browns seem to now want to throw the ball a little bit more since Flacco's arrived. And as a result, they may be getting away from what they were earlier in the year when they had Chubb healthy. Seems a long time ago now that Chubb was probably is one of the best backs in the league. So they're doing it. Yeah, I completely echo what you guys have said, that I edge Browns. They're better offensively than the Jets. The Jets did put in a performance against the Commanders last week, but that's the Commanders who are done. So, yeah, I think the Browns will edge a close, low-scoring, horrible game.
Nice one.
The Browns clinch a playoff spot with a win tonight.
Oof. So a bit of pressure on the line. But at home. So I'm guessing the weather in Cleveland, Ohio tonight is going to be horrible. I haven't actually checked my trusted weather report this week. I'll have a look during the next game. So yeah, thanks for that. Right, next up, Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. This should be an interesting one. Jay, who are you going with?
Wow. What is it about the Cowboys? They are perfect at home, 7-0. But they struggle mightily on the road.
Won the last 15 they have at home.
15. Wow. The Lions just clinched the NFC North. They're actually in contention for the number 1 seed, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they need some help, but it could happen.
Possible, yeah.
But they need to win this one, and I'm just not really sold. I'm not sold on the Lions' defense. Like, yeah, they put in a good showing against the Broncos and the Vikings, but this is the Cowboys in Jerry world, and the Cowboys are just different at home. Their speed shows up a lot more at home than it does on the road. Like against the Bills and the Dolphins, okay, CeeDee Lamb, he had a good run, he had a good touchdown run, but that was off a play where he read the zone well, and other things had to happen.
Didn't do anything for the rest of the half, did he?
Didn't do anything else, but not many Cowboys did.
That's true.
It was a weird game. I feel like at the moment, right? I feel like largely defenses are winning against offenses. That's the way it feels right now. As good as the Lions have been, I'm taking the Cowboys. I think the spread is around, is it like 5.5?
It's 5.5. Yeah, 5.5.
I mean, this could be one of those reality checks where the Lions kind of take a beating here. The Cowboys are coming off back-to-back losses. I tell you what, though, this Jahmyr Gibbs at running back is special.
Yeah.
Very special. And then you're going to combine him with David Montgomery, Paul's friend Big Dave. I mean, this is like easily a contender for running back duo, the best running back duo in the league, possibly. Okay, Cowboys win, Lions cover. I can only see a high-scoring game, I think.
53 points is the over-under.
A lot.
Yeah, cool. All right, so yeah, for me, this is my alarm bells are ringing where the Lions have just clinched their playoff berth. I know they haven't got the number 1 seed, but they've guaranteed the division title. And I feel they're going to take their foot off the gas a little bit here, or maybe not intentionally, but I think the scoreline will make it look like that. I see this being a beating. The Lions have improved so much from this time last year. If you go back 2 years ago, it'd be scary how much they've improved. But they're an organization on the up. Coaching great, defense started off pretty well, but they've been found out a bit as the season's progressed. They still have some holes to fill, and Dallas at home are perfectly situated to expose them gaps. I see the 5.5 point spread being covered reasonably comfortably. I see this being similar to the Ravens Lions a few weeks back, where they'll just get manhandled. See the defense taking over, which is a shame, but that's what I see. I don't see the over coming in. 53 is a lot, unless there's the Lions in garbage time. But I'm going with Dallas to win, CeeDee Lamb to have another monster game, Dak to throw for over 300, and said under on the spread in the points, and Cowboys to cover the 5.5 points. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you guys have said. I see and sense a Cowboys beating upcoming, that they're going to completely demolish the Lions. They'll go after Goff, and that's the Lions' chance. The Lions' chance is to run the ball early in the game and make it a physical game. I don't see that happening. Dallas, by whatever method, are 15-0 in their last. They've won 15 straight at home, and they are the classic bounce back team. So it's set up perfectly for the Cowboys to come back home and to beat the Lions. I was surprised that the Lions are currently the 3 seed and tied with the Eagles and 49ers. So if they can pull it out, then, the Lions could be the 1 seed if the Eagles and the 49ers slip up in their last couple of remaining games. But I don't see it this week. I agree that I wouldn't be backing the over to come in. That's a lot of points. But yeah, I see the Cowboys beating the Lions fairly handily, and I think they'll cover the 5.5.
Nice one. Cool. So now going on to Sunday's matchups, the first of the 6 o'clock games. Let's go with the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills, another divisional game. Jay, who are you going with?
This is a big spread. I'm obviously picking the Bills, but this is a big spread, and the Patriots defense has been better.
13 points is the spread.
13. Now, the reverse matchup gave me a lot of frustration watching it, because the Bills wouldn't execute properly. There was a lot of drops, a lot of bad defense, and Josh Allen kind of running for his life a bit. So there is a little bit of hesitation. Like, I don't know if I can really go with that spread. But I am going to pick the Bills to win. They weren't very impressive last week against the Chargers, but then they were facing, classic Chargers fired their coach. We've got newfound motivation. So there was a bit of that, but it was a lot of bad Bills, I'd say, to keep that game close.
Yeah.
This is in Buffalo. They're going to want revenge on that loss in Foxborough. So I say, yeah, Bills are going to win this game. It's going to be a lot of Josh Allen. James Cook, who had that monster game 2 weeks ago, took a step back last week, turned back into fumbleitis. So he's got to bounce back, I'd say, this week. Bailey Zappi, yeah, I mean, they did pretty good against the Broncos, but the Broncos suck again. So I think the Bills are a much taller task. Yeah, they won in Denver. That was impressive, but they're not going to be able to beat this Bills team, who know they've got to win this game, and they need their rival Dolphins to lose to the Ravens. And suddenly, Week 18 is for the division. So Buffalo will be desperate to win this game. Buffalo win. And may I just add, because all we've heard all year is Josh Allen's turnovers. There's a lot of players with turnovers in a similar range now. But I'm just going to create one more list for everyone. Quarterbacks that have 40 touchdowns or more, as follows: Josh Allen, the end.
Love it. Good stuff. Yeah, the thing with Josh Allen, everyone's quick to point out their flaws or his flaws, but not point out that there was another stat I saw. Maybe it was from you, Jay, or maybe I saw it just from someone else. But Cam Newton set the record for rushing touchdowns in a certain amount of games. Now Allen hasn't played that amount yet, but he's well ahead of schedule in terms of rushing touchdowns. I'll have to get
Cam's at 75, Josh Allen's at 50.
Yeah, if you look at after the amount of games, how many games it took Cam to get there, Allen is so far ahead, it's not even funny. So, look at quarterbacks right now this year. I mentioned it to you both before. I question the level of quarterbacks that have been coming through the NFL over the last few years. Maybe we've given some people their credit too early, and I think Joe Flacco just has enhanced my views on that. Right, he's come in the last 3 weeks out of nowhere, and he's pulled out. Going to probably take the Browns to the playoffs by the looks of it. I'm pretty certain if it was who's the other guy, DRT, or the one who's out now with an injury from UCLA, I don't think they would be making the playoffs with him at quarterback these last 3 games.
No.
We might have been a bit spoiled, I think, in the early to mid 2000s with your Bradys, your Mannings, your Brees, even your Deshaun Watson when he came in, your Andrew Lucks and Kirk Cousins, right? Look at the guys we've got coming through. There are some exceptions, but your Zach Wilson and your.
I think our top tier is better though. I think our top echelon.
Allen, yeah. I think they're special, but I think the numbers of quarterbacks aren't there to what we've had.
No way.
Look at Stafford even. Stafford's still going, but he's an early 2000, mid 2006, 2007? I'm not sure exactly, but there or thereabouts. So be interesting to see how it develops. Obviously, you've got CJ Stroud, your man, Jay, who is an exception to that.
One of one, though. You're right.
Yeah. We'll see a couple of good quarterbacks coming out of the draft this year in Caleb Williams and Drake May. So let's see how they do. And obviously the guy from LSU that's just won the Heisman, Daniels. So, yeah, fingers crossed we'll get a few more good quarterbacks on track. But Yeah, sorry, that was me going off on a tangent there. Let's go on, stick back to the New England Buffalo game. I'm going with Buffalo to win. New England did great against Denver. I didn't see it personally. I didn't see them winning that game, especially with how Denver have sort of turned it round over the last sort of 6 or 7 weeks. I thought that this would be a win for them. Zeke Elliott turned up, did help me with my fantasy. Didn't get the win, but he did more than what I was hoping. But Buffalo are just going to be too strong. At home, they're a different beast. They played an invigorated Chargers team that finally had the shackles taken off of them from Staley. And yeah, another day, who knows? But Allen will get it done. I don't see it being an absolute hammering. I don't see. I wouldn't go with 13 points just because you can be certain Belichick will have the defense on point. It's not going to be a fair weather game in Buffalo. It's going to be hard for both teams, but yeah, going with Josh Allen, going with Diggs. Although Diggs now is 6 or 7 games without going over 100 yards, which when I quietly didn't know that. I thought he would have been there or thereabouts, but yeah, nowhere near for 6 or 7 games. So was there any issues going on in the background, or is he just spreading it around, especially with the tight end back now?
The offense has gone through James Cook. He's had 100+ scrimmage every week, apart from last week.
And rightly so. It's proven, like, since they've actually made the change to the offensive coordinator, the results have picked up. So, yeah, and the defense has picked up as well, which obviously isn't directly related to that. But it's obviously given them a little buzz. Must be quite demoralizing as a defense when you're having to keep going back on the field because your offense is going 3 and out. I don't know. Paul, you'll be able to tell me more about that with your Pittsburgh Steelers than based off of the year you guys have had. But yeah, it's Buffalo win. Paul, what you got?
Yeah, I agree that the Bills will win. I think that it will be close in the true nature of a divisional matchup. They know each other extremely well. Yeah, the Bills season seems to have turned on what we were saying earlier in the year, that Josh Allen should not be your leading running back, as well as doing everything for your offense. So the new offensive coordinator, allowing them to have a more balanced game plan, seems to have made a huge difference to Buffalo, who, by the way, are a very dangerous team heading into the AFC playoffs. And if they do take care of business this week, and as expected, if the Dolphins drop to the Ravens, then, you know, Miami really they should have taken care of business. That home game that they dropped. Who
Titans.
The Titans. Oh goodness, yeah. That's Miami. If they have to go on the road in the playoffs because of that Titans game, then they will be kicking themselves. But yes, keep it short. Buffalo win. Wouldn't touch the spread. Think it'll be close. And on to next week. Miami, Buffalo, what a game upcoming, week 18.
I don't think anyone in the AFC wants to play Buffalo in the playoffs. This run there, it's really reminding me of the Super Bowl that Rodgers won at Green Bay, where they, I think they played away in every game leading to the Super Bowl. I don't think Buffalo will get the number 1 seed personally. I think they will get a wild card pick, but I think they're a team that will be perfectly fine as a wild card. They can go anywhere and be a match for anyone, whoever it is. But time will tell. But yeah, next up, Atlanta Falcons at the Chicago Bears. Jay, who are you going with?
So I was hoping we were going to cover Ravens, because what I was going to say this week was I'm going to call out every team that publicly ran to decline Lamar Jackson in the offseason. And we're going to start with the Falcons. Arthur Blank, and I quote, basically said, Lamar's not going to last long in this league the way that he plays. So I'm calling out the Falcons. Whatever I do with the Falcons, it's wrong. I just don't have a good read for them. I pick them to win, they lose. I pick them to lose, they win. The Bears they're quite a stubby team. Defensively, they've been pretty stingy as of late. Maybe it was the acquisition of, I can't remember, is it Montez Sweat?
Montez Sweat. He's the sack leader for the Commanders and the Bears.
Yeah. The Falcons are a clear candidate for the offseason where you say, find competent quarterback play because you got so many weapons, so many. Drake London. Finally, they're starting to utilize Kyle Pitts. And we're not even getting to Bijan Robinson, like the offensive line that is one of the better offensive lines in the league. But they're just very incompetent as a team. They won last week. The Bears is a tough place to go. It would be rare for the Falcons to win 2 in a row. The Bears are playing pretty well. I think DJ Moore did get injured last week, so I'm not sure on his status. But assuming he plays, I'm not completely sold on the Falcons' defense. They can be very good. They can also be very bad. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bears in this one.
So yeah, I look at this game and similar to you, Jay, the Falcons are just they're like turning into the Chargers of years gone by. They've got weapons all over the place, and they're using Cordarrelle Patterson a little bit more now out of the running backs. So they've got Algier, Patterson, and Bijan. Bijan had a big game last weekend, but the weekend before that, I think he had 12 yards or 20 yards or something like that for the whole game and hardly had any touches. And as a team, I question a lot of the coaching calls. I don't get why they're where they are because they've got a pretty good secondary. They got also a pretty good O-line. They shouldn't be as bad as what they've been at times this year. And we've seen glimpses of what they can be. Looking on the Bears haven't had a great year. Fields, I think, has improved from where he was at the beginning of the year. I remember where we was in week 1, 2, and 3, being Paul's favourite player in the NFL, and rightly so. He was called out week after week. He has improved. He's not nowhere near the finished article, but his running game is helping this team. I think the fact that they played Arizona last week will help them with trying to cover your Bijan Robinson. I know he's a quarterback, but with the Arizona Kyler Murray, quite elusive, similar to what Bijan Robinson will be in the open field. So their defense will be quite ready on that. Chicago at home, it's going to get a cold weather. You've got a dome team going over to Chicago, again, traveling over to the East Coast of America, or not to the East, but close to the East Coast of America, in the elements. I think they're gonna lose. I see Chicago winning. Not sure what the spread is for the game.
I think it's 2.5.
Yes, 2.5.
Yeah.
It's saying 3 now. So even with 3, if I had to go, I'd go with the Bears to cover the 3-point spread. But that would be one I'd rather leave. Which, funnily enough, a lot of them I'd rather leave this week. But I'm going with the Bears to win. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I completely agree that I'm going to pick the Bears, but this game should be set up perfectly for Atlanta in how they've designed this team. They have a huge offensive line. They've invested just in the running game and their O-line. So it should be travel to Chicago in December, and we're going to run the ball, and we're going to play defense, and we are perfectly set up to win this game. But the Falcons don't seem to play to their strengths consistently. They seem to just, and it makes no sense whatsoever. They should just be a run-first team. They pulled out a great performance last week against the Colts, but Minshew had a bad game. Colts, one of their worst performances of the season. The Bears are, quietly putting in some very impressive performances lately. And my friend Justin Fields has stepped it up massively. And he is and always has been a elite athlete in the pocket. Like the run that he had against the Cardinals this past week, where he faked out the linebacker with the throw and then kept going. Like it's rare to see that in the NFL, and the Bears have a big decision upcoming this offseason with the Panthers. What's almost sure to be the Panthers' #1 draft pick. What are they going to do? It's a great position to be in, because I think now Justin Fields has played himself into, I could be a starter in this league, if not for the Bears, for someone. And I think he's just kind of maturing into being a quarterback now, in end of year 3, I think. So they don't have to make a huge decision yet with in terms of the contract either. So they could just decline the option and keep him on the roster and draft a quarterback, and then we'll see what happens next year. But gone off tangent a little bit, but I am picking the Bears to win this game. Atlanta should be designed to win this game, but they are the Falcons and they find a way to go off script. So I'll pick the Bears.
Nice one. Thanks for that. Next up, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Indianapolis Colts. Jay, who are you going with?
I think Paul mentioned it just then. Massively disappointing performance from the Colts last week, who have looked pretty good with Minshew. I mean, they've had the issue not having Michael Pittman Jr., but Minshew did pretty well without him in the rest of that game against the Steelers. Defensively, though, I was very disappointed with them last week. The Raiders, how the hell did they win that game? Aidan O'Connell completed his last pass in the first quarter. And then, fair play to their defense, I guess. They played defense.
Two touchdowns in 7 seconds, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a game. Yeah.
Matt Nagy and his classic gadget plays, fumble, returned for a touchdown, and then Mahomes throws a pick 6.
I haven't heard anything about Mahomes like we were hearing with Allen at the time.
That was a shocking pass. That was a floater to the sideline.
And have you noticed the attitude? I'm getting a bit annoyed with the Chiefs players' attitudes.
Travis Kelce slamming his helmet down. Reed didn't want to give it back to him.
Yeah, and rightly so. Acting like a child. And then you had, what was it, the game, was it last week or the week before that, where you had Mahomes going off with the offside call, literally against the Bills, weren't it, a few weeks back?
Yeah.
Just acting a bit like throwing your toys out the pram,
not focusing on the real
problem
issues.
I mean, how to catch. Throw some bricks at the wide receivers and see if they learn to catch.
The Jerry Rice method.
Exactly. But go for it, Jay.
No, I don't know. It seemed like it's a divisional win, so we'll give them that. I am gonna bank on the Colts responding this week, knowing that it's kind of still in their hands. Both they and the Texans are in similar boats. Win this week, and then we face each other, and then whoever wins that one, regardless of what happens with Jacksonville, I think we'll get in at least to a wild card spot. So possibly this is the Colts' last home game this year. I say the Colts do bounce back this week. It was a great win for the Raiders. They're doing a great job. We'll see if they've learned their lesson. I actually do think Antonio Pierce does deserve a shot next year because the players want to play for him. I can't remember the name of the previous interim coach from 2 or 3 years ago who did pretty well. They lost in the wild card to the Bengals. Pretty sure that was the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. And then they said, no, we're going to cut this feel-good story and we're going to hire Josh McDaniels. So, yeah. Mr. Davis, learn from your mistakes. I think he's done enough to earn his shot. Let's face it, the roster's okay, but it's nothing special. But I think that this week, being at the Colts are desperate, must win. Minshew bounces back, and Colts win. It's an annoying spread. I think it's 3.5. It feels like it could be a very close game, like a field goal type of game. So I would stay clear of that one. But Colts win.
Yeah, we're talking about Mr. Davis. That's one thing you can guarantee he won't do, is he seems to do everything the opposite to what the team has needed for a number of years. I remember back when I was living out in the US at end of sort of like 06 time, everyone they drafted had to be like a 4-3 runner. It didn't matter if they couldn't catch the ball as a wide receiver or if they couldn't hold on to the ball as a running back. If you could run fast, they'd take you. And they eventually learned that's not the way. But takes a good few goes for them to make the wrong call before they actually learn from their mistakes. Hopefully not. I completely agree. I think Antonio Pierce deserves another chance for the whole year next year. I love the way he's managing the players. I think that's half the battle at this level, is managing the egos of these players, because they all have huge egos. Otherwise, they wouldn't be where they are right now. That's the fact of it. And they seem to be playing for him. You know, like before, they weren't playing for Josh McDaniel. The results showed that. Now they've had some good games, they've had some bad games, but the players are playing and they're getting their fair share of W's, and that's what it all comes down to. They definitely need to work out how they can get Devontae Adams into the game more. It's a crime that he has last week, one catch for 6 yards, I think, or one catch for 4 yards. I don't care who your quarterback is. You've got to get him the ball more. I think this is a good matchup to get him the ball more. And I also think for Zamir White, you look at the Colts last week with Bijan catching a fair few out of the backfield. So if Josh Jacobs doesn't make it back, Zamir White could have another big game. We'll see. Although game last week was predominantly on the last drive where the Chiefs couldn't stop what they knew was coming, which I still don't understand that. But going into this game, I'm going with a home team after that nice long run on the Raiders. I'm going with the Colts. I'm not sure why. The Raiders never seem to travel well when they're in the early kickoffs. It is in Indianapolis. Got to give them that advantage. Minshew, again, we've said it time and time again, he's a good quarterback. And I'm not sure Pittman's availability, if there's any chance of him being back this week. But whether he plays or not, Jonathan Taylor's got another game under his belt, so I imagine he'll be a bit better this week. I don't like the spread. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't even like to put the Colts on the money line, but I'm going with the Colts to win this game. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to pick the Colts. The Raiders are 2-5 on the road. The Colts, surprisingly, have got a losing record at home, despite having an overall winning record. They're 3-4 at home. Just put that. I could only put that down to the teams that they played at home. But the Raiders have won 7 games. Like, credit to the Raiders winning 7 games with the mess of a situation that they have had to deal with this year, with the quarterback situation they've had to deal with the Josh McDaniels and the team meeting and all of that just complete and utter dysfunction that came out of that roster, that organization this year. And they've won 7 games. They're 2 games behind the Chiefs with 2 games left. But I think that's too much to ask. I think they've had a great season despite everything that's happened there. They win games some way, somehow, with just togetherness and grit. In so much Jimmy G situation is, but if they can get off it, then they should move on, start again. Aiden O'Connell doesn't look like he's going to be the answer. Start again, but if you've got the players playing for you, then you've got a chance in this league. Effort counts for a whole lot. This week, I don't think it will be enough because the Colts need this, and I think they'll get it. I think it could be close, but I'll pick the Colts to just pull it out at home.
Next up, the LA Rams at the New York Giants. Jay, who are you going with?
This is one of the most scariest teams in the NFL right now, and I have circled Week 18 because it's Rams at 49ers. So personally for me, worried about that game. I was hoping it was going to be a nothing game. It means something after the Ravens loss. Stafford is playing, I think, at a top 5 level right now. He's still special. And the weapons that they've surrounded him with, you've got a healthy Cooper Kupp. He got a little bit banged up a couple of weeks ago, but you've got Cooper Kupp. You've got a budding Puka Nacua. The running back, his name is evading me right now, but he is special. He's given them the balance that this offense is. Kyron Williams. He's given them the balance that this offense has been screaming for. Even Tyler Higbee is, a good role player at tight end. And then you still have the other speedsters like Tutu Atwell to lean on. Defensively, they've been all right as well. They've been certainly better than I thought they were going to be. So all credit to Sean McVay turning a situation where we didn't have great assets going into the season, and they've hit with a lot of these late round picks.
Yep.
The Giants look a lot better with Tyrod Taylor in that game against the Eagles, although was it good Giants or was it just bad Eagles? Either way, I fancy the Rams. It's a 1 p.m. window, West Coast travel, but the Rams are just playing really well right now. I'm not that sold on the Giants. Yeah, I'm gonna say that the Rams offense just has too much for the Giants. They won't be able to keep up. I'm sure the Giants will put up some points. Saquon Barkley, even Slayton at receiver, he's going to be difficult to deal with. And Darren Waller at tight end. They do have pretty good weapons. Tyrod Taylor is a pretty sound backup. He'll make some plays. He's probably not going to win you many games, but he won't throw them. But yeah, I think Stafford's playing really well. And this is not a team that I would want to see in the NFC playoffs. So yeah, Rams win. The spread is
5.5.
5.5. I think it will be close, but I think maybe the Rams will cover that. Always dodgy on the road, but yeah, Rams win either way.
Always hard going with a West Coast team having to travel to the East Coast in the early kickoff, but they are a well-coached team, which always eases my concerns when it's a Pete Carroll or a Sean McVay coached team having to make that trip. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head really with Stafford. He's playing lights out. He's doing everything you need to do as a quarterback, and he's gonna probably be the quarterback that, the guy that was quarterback with the wide receiver who got the record in receiving yards. The wide receiver who was second in the record books for wide receiving yards, and the rookie with the most receiving yards, very likely, if Puka Nacua gets, I think, 147 receiving yards over the next 2 games, he gets that. For me, he has to get it this game. As everyone else did it over 17 weeks, so you do it over 17 weeks, and it doesn't count if you get an extra week in my book. If you're going to put it in the record books, anyway. But yeah, I'm going with the Rams to win this game. I think DeVito got a bit full of himself, maybe. Heard some stories about him supposedly going to a pizzeria, decided to double his fee the last minute, which the pizzeria then cancelled him in New York. And yeah, just seemed a bit his agent. I look at his agent and he just looks dodgy as hell. Like, he really looks dodgy, a standard dodgy agent. Agents are dodgy and at the best of times, let alone how this guy looks. So maybe that's me. Don't judge a book by its cover, but I've judged. But no, Tyrod Taylor, good quarterback. He's a good NFL quarterback, but doesn't matter when you got Aaron Donald coming for you up the middle every snap. Rams win. I think they'll cover the spread, but just about cover. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I was thinking to pick the Giants, but I can't do it. I put credit on the Eagles having a bit of a meltdown rather than the Giants having turned around their season offensively. I think that's what I'll put it down to. Yeah, the Rams, like Jay said, are an extremely dangerous team to face upcoming in the playoffs. They have, when healthy, which they currently are, they have a lot of talent in the key positions, and offensively, defensively, and they've got the coach as well who can scheme them up. And yeah, the Rams are, barring a disaster, barring a meltdown, going to make the NFC playoffs. And then it's a case of the seedings and who don't. So it looks like the Rams will probably be about the 6th seed, and that would make them face the 2 seed. So the Niners need to win out.
Well, the 6th seed will play the 3 seed.
Oh, is it 3?
And who is the 3 seed right now? It is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So Matthew
Stafford, great game
versus Jared
Homecoming.
Goff.
Right. And that's almost like booked, isn't it? Because like the Lions, the winners of the South are the 4 seeds. They can't improve. So yeah, if the Lions do lose as expected this week to the Cowboys, they should have booked the 3 seed. Yeah. Yeah, what a game.
Wow.
What a game. Rams Lions. What a game.
Yep.
Yeah, but the 49ers do not want to see the Rams upcoming. Nobody really wants to see the Rams in the NFC. Yeah. But yeah, to go off subject again, I think the Rams win this game. Yeah, it could be close, but yeah, I'm picking the Rams.
Good stuff. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals at the Philadelphia Eagles. Jay, who are you going with?
By default, the Eagles are going to win this game. The Cardinals, I feel bad for Kyler Murray. This isn't a good roster. I think that he is capable of being like a good quarterback for a team, like an actual competent organization. Same with the head coach. Like, I hope that this isn't it. Like, I hope it's not one and done, because he deserves a fair shot. Like, he's shown enough to me that he could be a head coach. But I mean, it's just completely overmatched. Like, the Eagles are better in every position, really. Maybe quarterback would be the questionable one. Yeah, they'll cover the 10.5 probably, unless the Eagles mess around like they were messing around on Christmas Day. The pass defense isn't good. The pass offense isn't good. But if they can run the ball on the Cardinals, which most teams have shown you can, they'll just ram it down their throat, and a few play action passes here and there, it'll be enough. So, yeah, Eagles march on and hope for a 49ers loss.
Yeah, well, I don't really think I've got not much to add to that, so I'm just going to copy and paste what you've just said, Jay, and go with the Eagles to win. Yeah, it is what it is. Like you said, Arizona coach is, I think, a really good coach in the making, but he's not in. He's the right person at the wrong time.
Yeah, agreed.
Hopefully he gets the opportunity to build a team there. If not, another pro roster will be able to take him and give him a chance, because he's a good coach for the future. He's still young, and hopefully he doesn't have to take a step back to an OC, because he deserves this shot with what he did in previous years. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think I know they've just won 3 games, but credit to the Cardinals for not currently being the worst team in the NFL, with the roster that they had and the offseason that they put together of attempting pretty aggressively to be the worst team in the league. But their players and their head coach did not, or so far have not allowed that to happen. That would involve, obviously, the Panthers winning another game, which I can't predict. Cannot confidently predict the Panthers will win another game. So, yeah, by that token, the Cardinals would not be the worst team in the league. But, yes, this game, like you guys have touched upon, is a prime example of what they've done. Like, the Eagles are stacked, they're loaded top to bottom, and the Cardinals are not. And just talent-wise, this is not close. Talent-wise, the Eagles should blow them away and cover the 10 points. But this is the NFL, and they could cover the 10-point spread. I mean, they beat the Cowboys earlier this season, but I don't see that happening again. Eagles win. Wouldn't pick them to cover, but yes, Eagles to win this football game.
Nice one. New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good match up here in Tampa Bay. Jay, who are you going with?
I can't trust the Saints anymore, and it's like, you see, we need like a chart to show the Buccaneers going like this, and then the Saints going like this. Like, Baker Mayfield has earned the right to another year as the starter for the Buccaneers, I think. He's played pretty much lights out the last few weeks when it's really mattered. He was all right most of the season, but he's taken it up a notch over the last few weeks. So he's definitely outplayed his predecessor of last year. The Saints, I don't know what to say, really. I don't know what to make of them. Like, they're so inconsistent, not just on a game-by-game basis, but within a drive.
Yep.
Like, Carr can have some absolute lasers, like 2 massive throws in a row, and then he looks like he doesn't know how to play quarterback again.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the Rams was a bad matchup because I think the Saints the last few weeks have been riding Alvin Kamara, and the Rams have been pretty good at shutting down running backs, both on the ground and in the passing game.
Yep.
But that's not the way it looked during the game. It looked like Carr was able to find Olave quite easily.
Yep.
I just don't know what to make of them anymore. So I trust the Buccaneers to win this game. You know, they've been much improved on defense as well. Maybe that's the incompetence of who they've faced, but Baker's playing well. Defense has been better. They're at home. If they win this, they win the division. So I think they will. Buccaneers win. It's a 2.5 point spread. I think the Buccaneers cover.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game to watch, this one. You wanted to go with Kamara and then you run into Donald last week. You don't want to be running into Vita Vea this week. He's a pretty good run stopper up the gut. In Tampa, yeah, you touched upon it right at the beginning. Mayfield has well and truly exceeded expectations. I think all of us had for him. He's earned my respect, his toughness as well. Stayed in there quite a lot when he's been banged up this year, but still produced. And as you mentioned, when it matters, he's produced, and it's mattered the last few weeks, and he's got them to this position. So good on them. Mike Evans at wide receiver is just, the guy doesn't age. He's another great year for him, and that's only going to continue. Always a good matchup with him and Lattimore for the Saints. So I look forward to seeing that this week. I think Tampa Bay win. I do think Olave will have a big game for New Orleans. Whether that's going to be garbage time, yards, etc., I doubt it. I think there will be some, but Tampa Bay's secondary does have some weaknesses there that have been found out at times this season. And New Orleans, their defense is aging. There's no doubt about that. And they might be able to slow down Mike Evans with Lattimore. Will they be able to slow down Rashad White? Who's the other wide receiver? Number 14. Can't remember his name now. Godwin. Well, I don't think they'll be able to stop all three of them. And it would be just a matter of, right, choose your medicine. Which one are you going to go with? Choose your poison, sorry. So we'll see. I'm going with Tampa Bay to win. I think they cover the spread, 2.5 points. And yeah, New Orleans are quickly turning into that team that, almost a bit like Falcons. They're better than the Falcons, but you never really know what you're going to get. They don't have an identity anymore. It's slowly losing that identity. We'll see what happens over the coming years. But for this week, Tampa Bay win. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think this game is kind of a slap in the face to the Saints. It's a what did we do moment, because this past off season you had a choice, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who believes that they made the wrong choice, the Saints, in picking Derek Carr for the not just that it's Derek Carr, but the amount that you are on the hook for with Derek Carr, not just this year, but they're on the hook for next year as well. They can't really get out of it. They can the year after that. Baker Mayfield was signed for $4 million base salary, with $4.5 million further in incentives. So at max, he's going to earn $8.5 million this year versus Derek Carr at close to $40 million. And yeah, Derek Carr is, like, not to keep making the same point from earlier in the season, but he is who we thought he was. If the Raiders get off you, then why are you in a rush to sign this guy? Like, the Raiders got off him for $40 million. The Saints are now on him and riding him for another year for $40 million. Derek Carr, by the way, like, he showed you who he was as well earlier in the season when he's given stick to his teammates and the attitude that he showed. He's not a leader. He's not supremely talented. He can't move in the pocket. He can throw deep when the cards are dealt perfectly. He can throw deep, but the cards need to be dealt perfectly for him to perform at that level. Yeah, the Saints, I think, are in trouble because they're an old franchise with very little salary cap. And yeah, I think the Bucs are moving ahead of them, and I think the Bucs will win this game, and the Bucs then will win this division. Then there seem to be franchises moving in slightly different directions. The Bucs have overtaken them.
Hello? I lost you there, Paul. Did you
Oh,
finish?
sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Bucs win, Bucs cover.
Nice one. Good stuff. Okay, now on to Jay's San Francisco 49ers at the Washington Commanders. Who are you going with, Jay?
Yeah, interesting one. So it's Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. The Sam Howell era is over.
Yep.
Oh, man.
It is, sadly. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is not the best time to play against the San Francisco 49ers.
No, they're pissed off.
Quite a humbling defeat against the Ravens. Now, we do have injuries. Trent Williams.
You there, Jay? Can you hear me, Paul?
I can hear you, yeah.
I think Jay's just been disconnected. I don't know, just give him a sec. I lost him after he said Trent Williams. All right, he's coming back in. Are you still there, Paul?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, your video's frozen, but I can hear you.
My video's frozen.
Ah, here we go. You there, Jay?
I lost you guys. Yeah, I lost you guys, I think, for a sec.
Yeah, so I lost you when you said Trent Williams, and then it went dead.
Okay, I'll restart from there. So, yeah, injuries for the 49ers. That was quite an expensive loss. Trent Williams, I think it was a thigh injury, but he was limited, so he should be able to go. Our left guard, Banks of America, a.k.a. Aaron Banks, who's been a big improvement this year. He isn't practicing, so our offensive line could be an issue this week. Either way, I think this is a pissed off San Francisco 49ers. Deebo Samuel has a regular slot on Kay Adams' show. He looked pretty upset yesterday. So I imagine we're going to take it out on the Commanders. We can't afford to lose now. We've got to win these games. I'm not going to lose confidence in Purdy over that game. He had 4 interceptions, but 3 of them, you've got to give credit to the Ravens, really. 2 tips that, they just landed to another Raven. We had 2 tips in the game, but the ball didn't land to another 49er. And then the 4th one, his arm gets hit when he's throwing. It is what it is. The Ravens dominated that game while it was still a game. The Commanders are not the Ravens, though. No one in the NFC is on the Ravens level. So my confidence level has not changed. Purdy has struggled against the elite defenses in the Ravens and the Browns, but he's lit up everyone else. I would just want to make another note as well. Everyone was talking about Tyreek Hill hitting 2,000 yards and that making him the MVP. Well, Run CMC is at 1930 total yards with 21 touchdowns with 2 games to go. He is roughly 400 total yards short of that infamous AP MVP season. Obviously, AP was doing it off a torn ACL, so that's not comparable. but I still think CMC should be the leader in the clubhouse for MVP. Lamar's been great in these last few weeks. I just don't think there's been an outstanding quarterback season, in my opinion. And even last week, when it was the talk of Purdy being MVP, not for me. I still think CMC is the one. But yeah, 49ers win this game, I hope. But yeah, I knew from an unbiased standpoint, I think the 49ers are going to take it out on the Commanders. Spread is 12.5, I think. Yeah, I think 13. The 49ers 13. So long as it's not like the last time we went to Washington where it became the Mud Bowl and we ended up just like running and kicking field goals, I could see the 49ers putting up quite a number of points this week. Jacoby Brissett, he came in against the Rams and did really well, but like it was garbage time at that point. The 49ers, it's like saying the same thing. Jacoby Brissett is not Lamar Jackson. Not everyone can make the 49ers look like the way that Lamar made them look on Christmas night. He demoralized the 49ers defense. I don't think that Jacoby Brissett is capable of that. So 49ers win, 49ers cover.
Okay, so I got 2 points I would start off with. Number one, if Lamar Jackson wins the MVP and McCaffrey doesn't, he might as well change it to MVQB, not MVP, because it's not even close. I saw a stat, and I know this is fantasy, not NFL, but I think it's stupid. Like 83% of fantasy teams that have McCaffrey have made it to their finals. You look at his stat sheet week after week after week. Even the 3 games where you lost in a row, they still weren't horrible numbers. They weren't to the normal sort of stat sheets that he's been putting up, but he is just a machine, an absolute machine. For me, it's not even close because Lamar Jackson, he's had some good games, especially of late, but for the whole year, he's had quite a few bad games as well. He's not played great all year. Especially at the beginning of the year. I seem to remember they let a lot of teams hang around. I think the Colts game is in my head where they lost that game early on. How they lost that, I don't know. They lost to the Browns, I believe, at another point in the year where they were up quite comfortably. That's not MVP. He's had good games, but McCaffrey's just a freak of nature. So that's my first point. McCaffrey, for me, should be comfortably the MVP this year. Second point, with the Ravens game, it doesn't concern me one bit. I watched the first half anyway. I didn't see I've seen the highlights of the second half. I still like if the San Francisco 49ers play the Ravens again, I like where they stand. The concern for me was, Jackson did extend plays long enough to find receivers, and the secondary has always been the concern all year round. And Hufanga, is there any chance Hufanga's going to be back, or is he out for the whole year? He's out.
He's out.
Yeah, he's so out. That's a concern. But
a lot of short fields, Rob.
There were exactly. And
will that happen again? 5 turnovers.
Everything that could have gone wrong in that game went wrong. And this is just me being a conspiracy theorist or whatever you want to call it, but I feel Kyle Shanahan was holding some plays back because he probably feels there's a very good chance that they play again in 4 or 5 weeks' time. Wouldn't surprise me, and if he did do that, then all credit to him, because you ran the ball pretty comfortably on them, and if that was a one-off game, I would hope and I would feel that Shanahan would have carried on running the ball. He wouldn't have thrown it as much as he did. You didn't need to throw the ball. McCaffrey was getting good chunks of yards every time he was running. And who doesn't love to run the ball more than Kyle Shanahan? He loves it. So, he was obviously experimenting a bit with maybe the Kittle play early on got them a little bit gung-ho on that. But I think this loss is a good thing, brings them back down to a bit of reality because everyone was going a little bit over the top on the 49ers. So get them angry again, get the defense hungry again, and you can be sure next time that they play Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, if they do on February the 11th, then it'll be the second time that they've played Jackson this year. And teams tend to do better the second time they play him, more so than the first time that they played him. If they stay healthy, for me, 49ers are going all the way this year. Everything that they do, no team can match up. Everything had to go right for the Ravens. It did. Won't happen twice in a row. I thought that was more interesting to talk about than this Washington game because 49ers are going to win this game. They're going to cover the spread. It is in Washington, so they are going cross-country. As I mentioned earlier, when you've got people like Pete Carroll, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, you've got coaches, you've got a well-oiled machine there, and you've got a group of pissed-off players that got their butts whooped on the scoreline. And these are players with a lot of pride and with a lot of ability to inflict some revenge on the Commanders to make up for that. So Jacoby Brissett, great that you've got the starting job this week. If I was you, I would have wanted it a week later because you might lose it as quickly as you get it. 49ers win. What about you, Paul?
Wow, I have to say the 49ers love in the room is immense from you guys. Like, considering what happened this past week, I want to agree with what you've said, and I do, to a point, agree with what you've said. But I wanted to ask Jay what he thought on this point that I had from watching back the game. Did that game turn into, this is not a regular season game, this is a battle for the MVP? Because to me, I didn't understand why you guys kept throwing the ball. Like, McCaffrey was gashing them, and Purdy kept stepping back and throwing the ball. And I was watching it like, what are you doing? You're doing
we didn't
exactly
run on the first drive.
I think you cut off, Paul, where I was saying it, but I basically said when I was saying my stuff that if they needed to win that game, they should have just carried on running it because they were getting big chunks on every run with McCaffrey. If it was they wanted McCaffrey to win the MVP, they win that game probably, if based off of that, because they wouldn't have stopped him. They didn't, and that would have then made Brock Purdy look better anyway because they would have had to bring another player in the box, and then you got Debo, Ayuk, Kittle with more time, more space. Sorry, that's a great shout. You know, I never looked at it that way where they because I was wondering why they were throwing it so much.
Concerning if true,
to make like hero passes as well. Like I'm thinking the pick where he escaped the pocket and then he threw it back across the body, across the middle, and you're like, man, just like either take a small gain on the ground, run out of bounds, throw it incomplete, but don't make that throw.
Yeah,
like
the issue is he's been doing that most of the year and it's been working, but this is the number one defense for a reason.
Hamilton was amazing on Sunday.
Yeah, Hamilton was amazing. The thing I would say though about this game that maybe I don't know if teams can take anything from it is that the Ravens put massive emphasis on yards after catch and basically not letting that happen. Yeah, okay, Kittle had that massive play, and there was a few like when the game was done at like 33-12 or whatever the score was at that point. But if you looked at when the game was still a game, there was not a lot of yards after catch, and that's what the 49ers kill you with. But yeah, that's a great point, Paul. The first drive, we did not run the ball once. So maybe it was a ploy to, position Purdy. I would hope that that's not the sort of goal at this point, like we win the games and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, We know how the MVP discussion goes.
I'm hoping it's Kyle Shanahan trying to hold back some plays because he thinks he's going to play them in the Super Bowl. I think it's probably Paul's, but like I think if they play each other again, the 49ers win that game. It was weird. I still feel 49ers are the better team after watching that game. I feel everything went in the Ravens side, even including the 49ers play calling.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you give a team like that short fields, I mean, they all credit to them. They scored on 7 straight drives, so they took advantage of our mistakes, and all you can say is all credit to the Ravens. But if we don't have 5 turnovers in the game, it was 16-12 at halftime. So 49ers will have to execute a lot better if it gets to a second time round.
Yeah. And you said you did have problems on the O-line, because watching it back, like, he seemed to be running out of the pocket a lot. He seemed to be under pressure a lot, Purdy.
Those injuries were later in the game, though.
I'm just going to leave you for 2 minutes. Sorry, carry on talking. I just need to go and get Nicholas to fart because he can't do it himself at the moment. I need to push it out of him. Carry on talking and I'll be back.
No worries.
Well, the Ravens didn't really blitz, did they? They just rushed their 4.
They rushed their 4, and
yeah, they seem to be causing problems with just the 4.
It was like, I think it was a combination of the 4 rushing were eventually getting home, but their man-to-man coverage was getting to Purdy. Like, he wasn't feeling confident to throw. And that's the thing with, was it Humphreys? And I don't know who the second corner is, but they're quality corners still. So, the cuts that Ayuk would usually make, where Purdy would feel comfortable sort of throwing him open, that wasn't there. Debo wasn't open. So it was like he was getting to his third read and sort of forcing it to Kittle a lot of the time early in the game. But yeah, and then suddenly, like, oh, we forgot about McCaffrey, so let's run the ball. And that was where the Ravens were suddenly getting undone. So
yeah, because it's got to be a thing. Like, your first 15 plays from scrimmage, which are the scripted plays. You're saying, like, you didn't run the ball.
We didn't run the ball once until Purdy threw the interception.
The script was to throw the ball early on the Ravens, like, and that's not how you've got to this point.
There's no way we would respect the Ravens' run game to that degree that, we can't run. Like, there's definitely something to that. That was odd.
Yeah. Okay. So back to the game. Just going over the bones of the previous heavyweight game, Ravens 49ers. This game's not going to be close. Pissed off 49ers, terrible Commanders. Commanders have, before Sam Howell, bless his soul, got benched, he got sacked 50 odd times. So good luck. Good luck, Jacoby Brissett, this week against the pissed off 49ers. That's a segue into this game from a betting perspective. San Francisco team sacks. Don't know if you could find a bet on that.
Usually around 4.5, 5.5.
So,
I like the over on any one of them.
Yeah, that could be a way into this game. I'd rather that than the 49ers minus 13. Although, that could also come in quite comfortably. But yes, San Francisco win. They're pissed off. They need this to get the number 1 seed, and they will handle business this week.
Nice one. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jay, who are you going with?
Ding, 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 ding. Another team that publicly declined the services of Lamar Jackson in the offseason. It was the Carolina Panthers. The GM, I'm going to it's sort of a quote. He basically said that Lamar was an expensive option. Yeah, okay. Nice one. So I'm just making sure that the receipts are being read out. Jacksonville Jaguars. My, how we have fallen. Is it four losses on the bounce? I mean, Trevor Lawrence, it feels like he's had every injury that he could have had. But they have to win this game. Like, they have to. Come on, Jacksonville. London's team. You can beat the Panthers, surely. I mean, the Falcons somehow handed the game to the Panthers 2 weeks ago. Like, literally, Desmond Ridder said, here you go. I'm in the red zone. We can kick a field goal to win this game. But here you go. Here's the game. The Jaguars are far too talented to throw this season away. Yes, they've got injuries. Lawrence has been dealing with a lot of injuries. I don't care. The Jaguars have to win this game. It's desperation mode now. They've got two very good teams in their division chasing them. They're all level, I think. I think the Jaguars, the Colts, the Texans all have the same record, and the Jaguars just happen to have the tiebreaker. So it's in their hands. Win these two games. You couldn't ask for a better game right now than the Panthers. Not much more to add than that. I think Jaguars win. They have to win. They've got too much talent not to win this game. So Jaguars win.
Yeah, they've lost 4 in a row. I don't see that becoming 5. It's an important game for them. They're at home, I believe. See them having too much Carolina. Even though they've not played great, they still have the players on defense to stifle this Carolina offense. See them just having too much. And picking up the win. I don't think it's going to be a nice game to watch. It's going to be probably quite a messy game. But I see Ridley stepping up. They've Agnew had some good kick return, a couple of good kick returns last week and a big touchdown. I think Kirk will still be out, so Agnew will have a increased workload. But I see, them having too much for Carolina. They got their win, as you mentioned, Jay, from Atlanta doing everything possible to hand it to them. And that was still challenging. So I see Jags having too much. Jags win. Not sure what the spread is, but
I think it's 6.5. This has got to be the game to get Travis Etienne back involved, because they've lost him in this offense, and he's such a big part to them.
With every team in the league, I don't know why they fall away from it. You need a balanced offense. You need to have the run game. Otherwise, you're just setting your quarterback up for failure and your wide receivers up for failure. So, hopefully they get him back up and running again. He had a great stretch, didn't he? For a couple of weeks anyway. He hasn't really gone for too long, but it needs to wake up now. This is when the checks are written. So, Jags win. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, the Panthers have won 2 games this year, and both of them have been very stubby, low-scoring games. The Jags are in a bit of a meltdown, but they absolutely have to have this game. Next week, if they don't have this game, then they've lost the division, because next week the Colts play the Texans. So there's guaranteed a winner out of that. And the Colts, like we said, they're playing the Raiders. So you'd fancy the Colts to win this week. And who have the Texans got this week?
Titans.
Texans got the Titans in Houston as well. So, you'd fancy the Texans to win this. So Jacksonville absolutely have to win this game. They finish up at Tennessee next week. So in theory, this is the easier of their 2 remaining games. They have to win this game. I think they will. I don't think it's going to be extremely high scoring, but it's just a case of just get through the game, and I believe that they will.
Nice one. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins at the Baltimore Ravens. Jay, who are you picking with this one?
Wowza.
3-point spread.
3-point spread. Now,
disrespect again for the Ravens. Only 3.
They're not the team to disrespect and get angry. They were pretty angry with the 5.5 spread last week. Just a quick point. I said that I didn't think Lamar was MVP, but I hope at least this last few weeks and this overall season can put to bed all these stupid narratives that he's not an elite quarterback, because he is. Like, he's one of the very best quarterbacks in the league. He does it in a different way to our conventional best quarterbacks. Like, he is very much, an ad-libbing master. Like, he will make your defense look foolish in extending plays. So the Dolphins might not have Waddle, I think, which that is a massive loss if he's not playing, because they're already very Tyreek Hill centric. They went to Baltimore last year, and in the fourth quarter, they were down 21. Somehow they came back in that game, but lightning doesn't strike twice. They cannot be down 21 in this game and think they're coming back against this Ravens team. I said after about week 4 that there was a certain player on the defensive line who had caught my eye in the film. And I'm pleased to say that he's getting national recognition. Justin Madubuike, 12 sacks. I described him as a big guy that has a lot of speed. And he kind of sums up the Raven way. They're just not the flashiest, but they get the job done. I'm struggling with... I know the Dolphins won a good game against the Cowboys. Their defense has improved. But it feels to me like this is one of those... It's being built up as a big game because it's for the number 1 seed. I kind of fancy the Ravens to destroy them. Like they did with Seattle, like they did with the Lions. The only, I guess, hesitation is how much were they emotionally, physically invested in the 49ers game. Often teams that play the 49ers, the record's not good the week after, whether they win or lose. But I just think the Ravens have... Well, they win the AFC if they win this one. They're at home. It is the number 1 defense. I'm concerned that the Dolphins are a little bit too Tyreek Hill centric. Tua was getting a bit flustered with the pressure last week. Okay, the Ravens might not offer that same level of pressure, but I'm not sure that the Dolphins can live with this offense either, that continues to make strides, continues to get a bit more polish week in, week out. That was the first game on Christmas Day where the Ravens put together a full game on offense. They haven't done it all year, but they saved it for the 49ers. Because what we've seen in previous weeks is good drives, stifled drives. For them against the 49ers, they just executed as perfectly as they have this year. Can they follow it up? Maybe not. But I think they'll do more than enough this week. I think they win. They cover the spread.
So, I am very torn on this game because Vegas are basically saying on a neutral field, this is a pick'em. If Waddle was playing, I would have gone with the Dolphins. The defense, I think, quietly are doing better than what a lot of people are giving them credit for, especially since Ramsey returned.
Yeah.
Really good pass rushing. Shame that they've lost. Who was it? Was it Phillips, the linebacker, who did his ACL against the Jets? It's a huge loss. But the Dolphins have surprised me this year. I thought they would struggle a bit against the Jets defense in New York, and they actually did pretty well in them conditions. And I do think the Ravens are going to have a come down after the 49ers. There's a lot of traveling, going back and forth across the country. It's a really hard game. I think Tyreek Hill will go off in this game, but I think Tua will probably throw a few picks as well. One thing, just keeps on shooting back to me and making me say, go with the Dolphins, is how the 49ers ran the ball on this Ravens D. And I think alongside San Francisco, Miami have probably got the best run offense in the league, especially with A-Chain back to full strength by the looks of it now. And Mostert having quietly one of the best seasons a running back has had. There's not many that have had. What's he had? He's had more touchdowns this year than he had in his whole career combined.
He's got 21, level with McCaffrey.
And well, I don't think anyone's mentioned his name once. It's quite a lot. And he's had a couple of games out, I'm pretty certain, because A-Chain played some big roles about 4 or 5 weeks ago before he got injured. So think how many touches he took out of him. I really want to go with the Dolphins. Do I go with the Dolphins? It's going to be one of them. If I go with the Dolphins, as soon as I do it tonight, I'm going to be like, why did you just give a game away? It's Ravens at home. I think the Dolphins are going to make this a really, really close game, but the Ravens are going to win. What I will say, if Waddle is healthy and he starts, I'm going to go with the Dolphins. It doesn't look like he's going to be healthy. It doesn't look like he's going to start. So I will say Ravens, but if Waddle does play, that's my one stipulation. Paul, what you got?
I completely echo what you said about really wanting to pick the Dolphins. I'm just to confirm, I'm just looking at the standings. Yeah, this could be
the number one game, basically. Although they got the Bills next week, but it's
it's in the Dolphins' hands.
Yeah,
it's in their hands. They win the two, they're the number one seed. So,
wow.
Who have Baltimore got last week in the last game? Anyone know?
Steelers at home.
Steelers in Baltimore.
And that could be a game Steelers need to win to get a wild card spot.
Yeah, but it's Mason Rudolph. It's not. It's.
Yeah.
I know it's a division game, but I'm doing it. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. I'm going to say that they, like you touched upon with the running game, they're going to attempt to run the ball, and they're an AFC team who play the Ravens. They're not an NFC team like this previous week, and Lamar Jackson being now 20-1 against NFC teams, which is just utterly ridiculous. But for the 49ers, the comfort that they can take is if they meet them, then they've met them a few weeks previously. So, at least they've got some tape on Lamar Jackson, and not like every other NFC team that see him once every 4 years. That's not the case for the Dolphins. They see this guy very often. And I'm going to buy into the Ravens having a bit of a letdown. The Dolphins defense is massively improved. And Tyreek Hill is just a complete menace on the outside. How they line him up, how they scheme him open. Even Baltimore are gonna have problems in covering Tyreek Hill, and the running game. Even Jay's old friend Jeff Wilson was running the ball late in the game last week. That drive that the Dolphins had when the Cowboys took the lead and the Dolphins just ran the ball and completely just out-muscled the Cowboys, took away the Cowboys' timeouts, and kicked the winning field goal with 2 seconds remaining. Just completely bullied the Cowboys. I was massively impressed with that.
Maturity.
Just how physical they were. And the play that they had, I think it was 3rd and 3, where they just motioned Tyreek Hill, just motion him, just see, right, he's in man-to-man. Okay, cool. So we'll just throw him a quick little screen. He's rapid. He'll make 3 yards easily. I think he made 7. that's how intelligent they are in how they design plays. And yeah, I'm gonna say that they, after finally winning a game against a team with a winning record, are gonna do it again this week. Not hugely confident, just a gut feeling, but I'm gonna pick the Dolphins.
I think the Dolphins' style definitely matches up pretty well in terms of their run game. That's for sure. We'll find out 6 p.m. on Sunday. The final early game on Sunday is the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. Jay, who are you going with?
Massive game. Texans have a lot of injuries to deal with. Will Anderson might not play again. The receiving corps is banged up, but it sounds like CJ Stroud will play. They beat the Titans in Tennessee with Case Keenum in a weird game that they probably shouldn't have won. Not really sure where the Titans are because they can turn up, but yeah, they're lost, aren't they? This isn't a team that's going anywhere. If CJ Stroud plays, it's been a few weeks. It's been a good few weeks now where he hasn't played. There's got to be some rust.
And his number one guy won't be there.
Say that again.
His number one guy won't be there.
His number one guy was in Tank Dell.
Yeah, Tank Dell, that's the one.
So Tank Dell emerged as his number one in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
but his original number one, Nico Collins, is also banged up. So, it's in Houston. Again, another desperate situation. If CJ Stroud plays, I will take the Texans. If he doesn't play, I will take the Titans. But not confident about this one. This is a dodgy one. And the Titans would love to play villain here and spoil the party.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my stipulation. CJ Stroud plays, Texans win.
Always a hard game, Titans. Titans away from home usually are pretty shit. But and the Houston run defense is actually, they're pretty good, the run D. Titans went quite heavy on the run last week after the week before being Henry's one of his worst games, I think, as a pro in terms of yards that he put up. It was shocking. I remember that because I had the over on the rushing, which had no chance of coming in at any point. For this week, I think Tannehill will be at quarterback again. I'm not sure. Is that an upgrade? Yes and no. Houston, I think I'll be same with you, Jay. If CJ Stroud, I think if he plays, he will find enough plays to make it happen. Somehow, some way. I partly hope he doesn't play because you're on a hiding to nothing, really. Like, just get this season over with and start preparing for next year. But yeah, I'm gonna go. Actually, no. You know what? Ignore what I just said. I'm going with the Titans to win, whether he plays or not. I just think they're gonna run the ball, and yeah, Houston just have too many players down. CJ Stroud, even if he does play, he's gonna have a few weeks, bit of rust, not with his guys there. Always hard to overcome. As they found out last week against the Browns, that manhandled them, made it a little bit more respectable with a couple of scores in garbage time, but that was a hammering last week. Titans win for me. What about you, Paul? You need some more time. You're going to run out of oil by the time that you've made a decision.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pick the Texans. Not hugely confident. I would pick CJ Stroud, even a rusty CJ Stroud, over the Tennessee Titans on the road. and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not hugely confident about it. But I give massive credit to this rookie. I think he's special, and I think pull it out even at 70%.
Good stuff. And what is up with the time of these games? You've got 10 6 p.m. games and 3 late games. Like, come on.
There should have been a game at 9:30 on Saturday, because Cowboys Lions is 1 a.m. on Saturday.
Did they flex the game out? Do you know? Because they've started doing that this year, haven't they?
No, this has been set for a while. I thought they were going to flex one to 9:30 on Saturday,
well,
but
at least push another one so they've got 4 at 9 or 9:30. But
yeah,
the Texans, for example, that's in Texas. It's not on the East Coast. You should easily be able to flex that one to a later game. But
CBS should like pick a game. So CBS
that's the Fox game, the Tennessee-Houston game. That's on Fox, but CBS, they've got
the Dolphins-Ravens.
Yeah,
Dolphins-Ravens should be 9:25.
Should be.
Surely
prime time, yeah. But oh well, all right. On to the first of the late games: Pittsburgh Steelers at the Seattle Seahawks. Jay, who you got?
God blimey. Paul had a feeling last week. I'd love to know if he has a feeling this week. As a side note, TJ Watt individually has the opportunity to make history. He is on 17 sacks, I believe, for this season. If he can get 3 more in the next 2 games, he will become only the second player in NFL history to have multiple 20-sack seasons, and he would join JJ Watt
in the family.
He is now 20 sacks behind JJ Watt, and I think he's still got a lot left in the tank.
Oh yeah.
And according to Trent Jordan, he is held on every play as well. So he's doing it like this.
Back to this game. I don't know what happened in Pittsburgh last week. I feel like it was there's a flow chart. It's like everyone writes Steelers off, so Steelers win. Does everyone still have the Steelers written off going into this game? If this was in Pittsburgh, like, I probably would have rode that Steelers mystique that it's in Pittsburgh, they'll make it ugly and they'll win the game. I mean, last week wasn't even ugly. Last week was just an ass kicking. Like, that was pure, just, I don't know what was going on. George Pickens with his Randy Moss-esque like stat line. What was it? 4 catches for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. What's your opinion on George Pickens, Paul? Like, is this the start of something, or do we still have more problems ahead?
Yeah, the nature of this kid's character, there will be problems ahead with him. He's not going to block down the field. He's not going to be a wonderful teammate. He's going to pout when he's not throwing the ball, but he is capable of excellence. When the ball's in his vicinity, he will catch it. Yeah, he's a very special player, and that followed him being slated in the media the previous week for his lack of effort. So I don't know if that's the pattern that he needs to feel that he needs to feel to prove himself, and then he'll step it up the next week. But yeah, the talent has never been questioned, even coming out of college. But there's a reason why he dropped in the draft, and he dropped for these character concerns, and that is why we were able to pick him up. It's just a shame, because if he had the mentality, then he could do anything in this sport. Anything. Just, he's a freak. Yeah,
Jalen Warren.
What a matchup! If he's going against Witherspoon this week, then yeah, what a matchup! Like,
provided Mason Rudolph can deliver him the ball.
Well, Mason Rudolph can throw deep. That's one thing he can do. He cannot throw short, which is a problem in the NFL. He cannot throw short and intermediate throws, but he can throw deep. And Pickens can get deep.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
And I thought it was be waiting there.
Yeah. I thought it was funny because, like, in the week, Jalen Warren basically said, if it was me, like, I would have blocked for him. And then for one of the touchdowns, Jalen Warren delivered, like, one of the heaviest blocks. Like, so he talked the talk, walked the walk.
Exactly.
I actually said last week that this is the most divided Steelers I've ever come across, because I've never seen so much public division, whether it was between Deontay Johnson and Minkah Fitzpatrick or Jalen Warren with George Pickens. And lo and behold, then the Steelers go and blow out the Bengals. So another difficult team to pick. The Seahawks, again, you kind of don't know what you're going to get from them, but they're at home. And there's no way that I can trust Mason Rudolph. I just can't. If you've got the choice, Paul, next year for 1.12 million, would you be willing to go with Russell Wilson?
For $1 million?
For 1.12 million, because he's going to get cut, and whoever picks him up, whatever they pay him will be offset against the 39 million that the Broncos owe Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson is getting 39 million either way. He's not going to get more than that. So he may as well just say, I'm going to take the absolute minimum, and Denver, you can eat my 37.8 million. I'll be, extremely attractive to teams at 1.12 million.
I'd absolutely, without question, take Russell Wilson at $1 million when our starting quarterback is Kenny Pickett. But
who can't stay healthy.
Yeah, but the danger of Russell Wilson is that he'll piss off everybody because he's Russell Wilson, and because he wants his meeting. He wants his coaches and everything like to suit him, because is he a football player anymore, or is he like a celebrity husband? I don't know who he is anymore, Russell Wilson. He's not Russell Wilson from Seattle. I know that. So
that's why at 1.12 million, it's not like, if it was at like 30 million, no way. But 1.12 million could be worth the risk.
There's no risk.
Yeah, value for money for sure.
Yeah.
All
right, back to this game. Yeah, I'm going to go. I just think Seattle, they've had some big wins. I mean, that Eagles win, wow. Like, they just hung in there. And then, Matt Patricia calling the defensive plays for the Eagles helped. 92-yard game-winning drive for Drew Lock. That was a big win for Geno, though, last week. Imagine if he'd lost that, straight off the Drew Lock win against the Eagles. They won a stubby game. I think this will be a stubby game. Both are built to win stubby games, but I'm going to lean Seattle. There's a lot of talent on Seattle's offense. And while Steelers' pass rush is one of the best in the league, if you can just limit it a little bit, there's definitely holes in the second and the second level and in the secondary that you can expose. So I think Seattle can do enough to win this game on offense.
Yeah, I'm going with Seattle to win this game. You've got Mason Rudolph, Pickens, and Deontay Johnson against Geno Smith, Lockett, and Metcalf. I know which three I prefer from an offensive standpoint. I think TJ Watt, not just him, obviously, but he'll keep it a close game. I can see him getting 2 sacks, 1.5, 2 sacks tomorrow on Sunday. Needing one more in the final week to match his bro. But I'm going with Seattle to win. A close game. Who knows? Maybe 3 weeks in a row they win 2017. So, what about you, Paul?
So I'm not hugely impressed with the Seahawks, despite their win against the Eagles. I think that was bad Eagles. Yeah, Mason Rudolph is who he is, unfortunately for us as Steelers fans. I think the Steelers will be able to run the ball on this Seattle front. And I think Pickens will again have another big game. The Seattle O-line is no good, which is a big problem this week against this Steelers pass rush. And the Steelers find a way to have a winning record. Next week is the Ravens, who probably need it for the #1 seed. So I'm going to say they pull out this one. Again, I don't know how they will, but I'm just going to put it down to the fact that they'll find a way to do it. They're a bit more streetwise as a franchise than the Seahawks, and they'll create some chaos, some confusion with Geno Smith. Patrick Peterson's now playing safety and is a better now than he is a corner at this age. He's a good bet, possibly to have another pick this week. Yeah, I don't know how they'll do it, but I think the Steelers will pull out the win on the road.
Okay, good stuff. Next up, the LA Chargers at the Denver Broncos. Jay, who are you going with?
So this is another one where there's a quarterback change. Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback for the Broncos. Russell Wilson's been benched for the rest of the season. Honestly, I know Russell Wilson has an ego, but I can't stand the way that this has unfolded. I think that Sean Payton has really gone down in my books.
Have you seen why they did it? Have you seen what happened? If he gets injured in the next 2 weeks and doesn't pass a medical in February, they'll have to give him an additional 37 million on top of the 39 million.
Yep.
So he's got to pass a physical in end of February, early March. So they're basically saying, you're out, you're going to be passing that physical no matter what.
So this is Derek Carr all over again.
Yeah, but they apparently informed Russell Wilson 2 months ago, we're moving on from you, basically.
Oh, wow.
They wanted him to take a pay cut, and they threatened benching him then, saying, if you don't take a pay cut, we'll bench you. It's just a bad situation all over, really. Bad contract given out because every year vests the following year, like the Ezekiel Elliott contract with the Cowboys. So that was stupid to give him that. Mm-hmm. But the way that Sean Payton dressed him down publicly in that Lions game on the sideline, I hated that. That was an awful look. It's 28-7. Sean Payton's just missed the challenge at the goal line. The defense can't make a stop, but it's all Russell Wilson's fault, apparently.
I think that's where Payton had he'd clearly decided at that point Wilson is no longer going to be part of this program.
Yeah. There's no
he
way.
Wanted the whole world to know that he is not his quarterback. It's not his fault. It's Wilson's fault. I think that was a bit of a deflection.
Yep. And they get a layup this week, really. I mean, okay, maybe the Chargers will be competitive again without Brandon Staley, but they probably won't. And this is like the perfect way to sort of go, look at us without Russell Wilson. We're so good. And Jarrett Stidham came in for the Raiders last year against the 49ers and lit them up. It was like he went for 350. So he's going to be ready. Yep. He's going to be pretty good, I reckon. Whenever there's a change, there's always positives, isn't there? Like there's always like motivation.
Right. Yeah.
So Broncos 3.5, they battered the Chargers with Justin Herbert. Now they're facing the Chargers without Justin Herbert. Their defense probably is better though without Brandon Staley. But it's this new feel. Jarrett Stidham can play, I guess. Well, he can certainly play in a game like this where you've got no tape on him for the whole season. So yeah, I'm going to say Broncos win 3.5. Yeah, I'm going to say they cover as well. It will be reasonably comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I think the Chargers over the last how long has Staley been there? 3 years, 3 years. When they were playing with him, it was like they were playing with like a weighted vest on all of the players, and that vest has been taken off them last week, and they just seemed not partly energized, but not weighed down. Obviously, they still didn't get the win, but there was a much better performance, and it just made you wonder why it took them so long to make this change. I don't see the Chargers having enough this week. I think none of the Denver players like Russell Wilson. So I think they're going to be pushing harder than ever to get a win without him, just to show that, again, he's the problem. It's not Peyton, it's not the players, it's Wilson. Stidham's obviously going to be, just as any incoming quarterback is going to be out there to prove a point. It's at Mile High, not an easy place for anyone to go, even for a divisional opponent that's used to it. You don't get used to it once every 12 months. See Denver having too much. I see them covering the spread, and I see them comfortably winning. I think the defense, a good defense, they've shown over the last few weeks. There is something there to work with, especially a lot more than what we thought over the first 6 or 7 weeks of the year. So Denver wins for me. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I agree that the Broncos will win this game. A good point made by yourself that, the Broncos hate Russell Wilson and do want to ensure that he is gone permanently. A win this week would help to ensure that. The Chargers, is it still that guy quarterbacking for the Chargers?
Easton Stick.
Right, yeah. Has he improved?
He was all right last week.
He was okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it'll be enough because, Stidham is a veteran backup at this point in his career, has been in the program for a year to learn the system and is kind of a plug and play a la like Gardner Minshew, like Jacoby Brissett at this point, and I think he'll pull out the win this week.
Nice one. Next up, what I'm guessing most of us thought was for the number 1 seed for the AFC Championship, or for the AFC division conference this season, Cincinnati Bengals at the Kansas City Chiefs. Jay, who are you going with?
Wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be at the start of the season. I really don't know what to say about the Chiefs.
It's been a nightmare from both sides, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like though. I feel like now. I know the Chiefs have had like an insane amount of drops, but like I think that Matt Nagy is getting away with a lot of the blame. Like his offense always stinks. Like it's just gadget plays. There's no substance to it. There's no, I don't know. It's so basic. Like,
do you not think questions need to be asked? Why was he given the job? But what credentials did he show to earn this job ahead of other people that applied for
just
it?
because he was there, what was he, the quarterback coach? Like he'd previously been the OC. You just wonder, like, has Andy Reid taken his foot off the gas because he had Bieniemy for so many years? Like maybe at that point it was Bieniemy doing like the scheming, mainly, and then he thought, well, we'll just throw Nagy in because he's already here. But Nagy's offense is terrible. Like, it's just gadgets and nothing else. Yeah. There's no, like, they never throw downfield at all. And I'm not saying that's, obviously defenses have caught up with that, but you still have to throw downfield sometimes because then, just to plant that seed in the defensive backs' minds, like, okay, they're still throwing deep. They're not. They know everything's in front of us. So while the receivers have been poor, and Kelce, what the hell has happened to Travis Kelce? He's having drops. He's contributing to the drops, which is not mind-boggling. And even when he gets the ball, where's his explosion gone? Like last year, he could run after the catch. Now,
Father Time catching up.
Yeah, it's like it's hit him like a brick wall.
Taylor Swift has made him weak at the knees, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know how I can pick the Chiefs, but at the same time, I've just watched the Bengals get torched by Mason Rudolph. Yeah, and George Pickens. Yeah. The Bengals have all the weapons, but what's their quarterback's name? It's
Browning.
Yeah.
Jake Browning, who done pretty well. He had done pretty well until last week. He did struggle against the Vikings for a while, and then he came through at the end.
Yeah. But Chase didn't play last week. I don't know if he's playing this week.
Chase didn't play. Yeah, good point. They need Chase to win this game.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I don't have a strong feel for this. Bengals are going to cover the 7.5 spread, I think. But I am going to go with the Chiefs solely because I just don't think Mahomes will let them lose another game. Defensively, that was a bit of a concern at the end, really. Like, the Raiders are going to run the ball. Well, sort of creatively, I suppose. Like, but they know you're running, or like we know we're going to run the ball. You know they're going to run the ball, and you're getting gashed. But how can I really put the blame on the defense when the offense is this bad at the moment? I'm going to ride with the Chiefs, but yeah, it's not a great outlook right now. And for the first time, I don't know if the Chiefs can even win one playoff game this year.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll go with the Chiefs to win.
Yeah, you spot on with that. Like, Chase is questionable, so he will likely play. How much action he'll get, we'll see. It's in Arrowhead. You've got to think that Mahomes, as you touched upon, won't let them lose again. If they win, they're in the playoff division champions. Yeah, Bengals last week. God, talk about laying a dud. That was horrible last week. I watched that game, and well, for Paul it was beautiful, but I mean, for watching a football match, it was shocking from the Bengals standpoint. They couldn't run the ball whatsoever, but I can't see the Chiefs repeating what they did against the Raiders. I hope not, because I want to see Mahomes play in playoff games. I want to see him winning, or I want to see him play, and obviously receivers make plays. Tired of these drops. Surely that it's got to change. Well, you would have thought it would have changed already. Yeah, bad. It's going to be quite a messy game. Completely the opposite to what we expected. Like I said, I expected this to be an incredible game. 2 high-octane offenses at the beginning of the year was my thoughts. Probably this game would have been your standard bet, going over with both quarterbacks over 300 yards. I think it's more likely to go under with both quarterbacks under 300 yards. but I'm going with Mahomes to win for Kansas City. But as you said, I will also echo Jay. I think Bengals cover the 7.5-point spread. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to pick the Chiefs, but the Chiefs, to me, just need to keep it simple and attempt to run the ball, play D, and just keep the game plan very simple and straightforward. The strength of this team at the moment, with Matt Nagy calling plays, is their defense, unfortunately for them. How they've changed from the team that they used to be to the team that they are now, and they can't play like they did this previous week against the Raiders to give up 2 touchdowns in the way that they did, just back to back. They just need to play smart, streetwise football, run the ball with Pacheco. Mahomes, if it's not there, just scramble a little bit. Don't throw a pick. Don't throw a dicey, because you haven't got the receivers to go up and get it like you previously did. You can't just throw it deep because you haven't got Tyreek Hill. You haven't got the speed, really. Like Jay said, they're not throwing it deep. They just need to play. They seem to need to play ball control offense and just play long, possessing the ball, offensive drives, 4-yard run, 3-yard run, 3-yard pass, reset, first down again, and just reset and repeat, rinse and repeat, no turnovers. And yeah, I think they'll figure it out, but I don't, like you guys said, I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs with how this roster is constructed, because I thought that they would find potential some way with Andy Reid on this coaching staff, but it hasn't happened. And we're in week 16, so I don't think it's going to happen at this point. I think they'll stumble into the playoffs, and I think they'll get knocked out of the playoffs. But I think they will win this week in a close, low-scoring game.
Okay. Then on to the last game of the week. We've got the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. Jay, who are you going with?
Monday Night Football underdogs are on an 8-0 run. The underdog is the Packers. I think it's a 1.5 spread in favour of the Vikings, who don't know will be at quarterback. Will it be?
I read today it's Jaron Reed.
It is Jaron Reed. Yeah. So the Nick Mullins experience is over. Or shall I say Pick Mullins?
Yeah.
This is a tricky one, because when the Packers execute, they look very good. But you know what? I'm going to go with the current theme that defenses are beating offenses overall. And one defense that has been very good, I think, is the Vikings defense under Brian Flores. Yes, they couldn't get the job done against the Lions last week, but it's more on the offensive side. It's risky because I don't know much about this rookie quarterback. He could be as bad as Mullins and Dobbs in terms of turnovers, but I think I'm going to ride with the Vikings just because of Brian Flores' defenses. They've stifled teams. They're at home. Close my eyes. Vikings win.
Yeah, this is one of them games that it's going to be a horrible game. I can't imagine many people wanting to watch this outside of Green Bay and Minnesota Monday night. I won't be staying up to watch it, that's for sure. I don't know much about this quarterback that's going to be playing for Minnesota. Could be great. The fact that he wasn't chosen ahead of Dobbs, or Kirk Cousins goes down and they choose to bring in Dobbs ahead of him, and then they choose to play Mullins ahead of him, tells me enough. So I'm going with Green Bay to win. Aaron Jones, we saw back last week in terms of the old Aaron Jones, probably the first time in about 10, 11 weeks where he's been playing without any niggles or any injuries to some extent. So, yeah, I think he'll have a big part to play in the game, catching the ball out of the backfield and obviously controlling the clock. Jordan Love, I still don't know where I stand with him. I never liked him all throughout the whole year. And then there was a little stage where for a few weeks he turned up and I started to see a player I'd never seen before. And then he sort of regressed again. So I'm a bit unsure where he is. I think Reed will be back for Green Bay, which I think is a huge plus. But I'm not sure on that. Yeah, I'm going to go with Green Bay, but it's almost one of them where I'm just going to cover my eyes and just see which one I pick. You could put an argument for either one. I think it'll just be a matter of which one doesn't lose the game. But I'm going to go with Green Bay. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm also going to pick Green Bay. Just I don't know about the starting quarterback for the Vikings. I think the Packers have more talent offensively, despite Jefferson being back now. He needs someone to throw him the ball. Yeah, I think that the Packers will win this game. They need to win this game. They are in position, are they not, to sneak into a wild card?
Both of them are.
Right. So yeah, this is a big game. Both at 7 and 8. Sneak in as the 7 seed in the NFC.
Losers out, basically.
Right. Yes, it's a big call for them.
Have the better record though, don't they? They've got the better head-to-head, I think. Yeah, Minnesota are the 8th seed right now. Green Bay are the 10th seed. So yeah, it's winners out, losers out. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, losers out, and it's in the NFC. It's the Rams,
Tampa Bay, and Seattle all have 8 wins.
Right, Rams, Seahawks, and then currently the Falcons are the 7th seed?
No, Tampa Bay.
Tampa have the division, so they're the 4th seed, but Dallas are the 5th seed. So it's Rams and Seahawks.
Yeah.
Right, so we need one of them to drop a game for either of these teams to make the playoffs. They need somebody to drop a game somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's win and kind of stay in it, basically, but lose and you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the quarterback, Jordan has been massively inconsistent, but he's shown enough in moments to suggest he can pull this out on the road in a hostile environment, like he did on Thanksgiving in Detroit. Yeah, and the Vikings, I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. I don't think they know what they're doing at quarterback. If they're changing quarterback this late in the warning earlier on, if they have any faith in whatsoever. So it strikes me as a bit of desperation from the Vikings at this point. So I'm going to go and pick the Packers to win.